Welcome back to the MUSB Dugout, everyone. I'm Scott Hall, and today I am joined by one of the best to ever suit up for the herd, Morgan Zerkle, potentially also one of the most well-traveled members of the MUSB alum. And Morgan played for her hometown team from 2014 through 2017, piled up numerous awards along the way that led to time with Team USA, as well as a still active career in the professional ranks. Z, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. I'm really excited to, talk about a little bit about my story, and softball's fun.
Well, good. Now, before we get rolling here on your journey, though, since you are coaching at Miami, how did the fall season go with all of the COVID restrictions? How'd you all do through that?
I think we did really well considering the circumstances that everyone was under. We, of course, started later and then we end earlier, so it was very shortened, but the time we got, I think, was definitely good because we'd been out for so long. I think everyone really savored the time that we had together on the field, so that was nice.
Yeah, I'm sure after the way everything just got canned absolutely there in March that people are probably saying, just let me get back on the field. I don't care what we do at that point. But
Right.
okay, well, let's step back in time, back down the road to Milton, West Virginia. When did you start playing softball?
I started playing in second grade.
Okay, so definitely getting going really early there. Now, what were your earliest memories, though, of Marshall softball, since obviously you grew up right here in herd country?
Yeah. One of my best friends, Morgan Kelly, actually, she was always just a big herd fan, and her family, kind of took me to games sometimes. And I remember probably not being until middle school and high school when we started specifically going to softball games, because we started, being more interested in college softball and that whole realm.
Okay, so did you have a favorite player at all on the team? And also, too, when did you start coming to camps?
I don't think I came to camps probably until high school, maybe a little bit earlier. I know my travel ball team specifically did camps at Marshall, so that was cool because it was my whole team there. But favorite player, I think, was probably Ashley Gue, because she also was from my area in high school. So kind of following her through high school, and then Marshall was pretty cool.
Now, did that help, too, as far as when you're coming out of high school looking to go to college, to be able to see somebody like Ashley Gue who went to your school and having such success at Marshall?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's been a lot of people from this area at least kind of start paving the way, and whether it's Andy or just any people from West Virginia starting to get into college and playing sports from here.
So now, were you getting recruited a lot coming out of Cabell Midland, or did you always just kind of have your eyes set on coming to Marshall?
I wouldn't say I always had my eyes set on Marshall, but I was not heavily recruited at all. My junior summer, which is a big recruiting summer, I was out for an injury, so I didn't play any that summer. And I really just didn't go many places. I think I'd been to an Ohio camp, but hadn't really been anywhere else.
Well, and your high school coach was a Marshall alum as well, and Jeannie Lunsford.
Yeah.
But so now, what do you remember from your official visit, though, to get to come here, really get to sit down, meet the coaches, and meet the players?
I remember my official visit, I got to do it with a lot of my current friends, so that was pretty cool. And a huge decision in coming to Marshall was that a lot of my travel ball team and some of those players were also looking at Marshall, so that influenced me, as well as my family, being close to them. On the visit, I do remember playing a game where we were hiding in a tree on campus and no one could find us. So my group won, I'm pretty sure. So that was fun. And I remember some people dancing. I want to say jazz was one of those, but
That's probably a very good bet.
Yeah.
Jazz was usually dancing pretty much just about all the time. But so now, so you've signed your NLI. You know you're going to come to Marshall. Did you get to go to any of those regional games there in Lexington in 2013?
Yes, I went to I'm not sure which specific game it was, but I know I was a senior in college or a senior in high school, and me and my and my sister and a friend of mine went out and watched some of the games. And I remember Chad Pennington was like sitting right beside us. And then obviously the crowd was very green. So that was a pretty cool experience. And I was already committed at this point. So it was a good welcome in to kind of see what the herd was all about.
So that did feel pretty good then, knowing that you're going to be going to a team that is getting very well supported.
Yes.
And then obviously too, as you got to go through your career, you got to see just how much the fans really kept coming out to watch games there at Dot Hicks Field. But, getting into your first semester, talk about that fall. How was that for you? Did you have one of those like rough freshman adjustment periods or anything like that?
I wouldn't say it was a rough adjustment, but I think every freshman coming into college just doesn't really know what to expect. We've all probably lifted weights before and practiced together, but we've never done it at that level of intensity, or we never been with the same group of people every single day, living with them, practicing with them. So just like anyone, when you come in and you're around the same people every day, of course it's going to be tough, and then you're going through hard times and hard practices. So I think it was probably a typical experience of a freshman, but I do remember, some tough days.
Well, that was something even Tolbert talked about, because she said she tried to come, since she knew you, tried to come and maybe do some of your workouts with you. So she had a little bit of an idea when she got to Marshall, and she said, but that's still just no,
Yeah.
she was not ready for that. It was definitely
Very tough to prepare for, that's for sure.
Yeah, oh, definitely. From going obviously from high school up to the Division I level, workouts and everything are going to be completely different. But did you feel any pressure going into your freshman year, since Marshall was the defending conference champions?
I wouldn't say I felt pressure, more of excitement that they were playing at that level. My freshman year, I think we did, drop down a little bit as far as with so many people graduating. Like, people weren't as scared as Marshall because they graduated a lot of their senior class, but there was still a lot of upperclassmen that, were on that team. KG, Shay, some of those people that kind of welcomed us in as a freshman class, but also showed us the reins and how things went. So that was an easier adjustment for some of them.
What were your expectations for you going into your freshman year?
See, that's crazy because I honestly don't really remember what expectations I had. Everyone asks oh, did you dream of playing this or doing this? And I really don't remember. I know in the moment I was, I wanted to be good at this. I wanted to be good at that in the moment, but I don't know that I had much of a larger vision until later on, when I really realized, what was possible in the softball world.
You've already talked about it just a little bit, but talk some more about your freshman year and what do you remember? Because it was a rough start to the year, in fact, being 6-18 at one point. But then you all did get on a little bit of a roll there to be able to finish the season.
Yeah, people ask some of the best memories of college, and I think some of them were from freshman year, because sometimes some of the hardest things that you get through, I think, are the best memories. And I do remember, being a team that struggled at times, but I remember even in the conference championship, making a run to the championship. And the championship didn't go so well. But those 3 days leading up were some of the most fun days that I'd had playing softball up to that point. So I think it says even more when you're kind of the underdog and are able to pull things together and make a run in the conference tournament. And that's one of my favorite memories, is that weekend.
Well, going ahead then with that, what do you remember really from that last out against East Carolina? Because the ball's coming right to you. You get this out, it's an extra innings, and you all are going to the championship.
Or will the Marshall defense advance the 7th seed to the championship game? Jelnick, grounder to Zerkle. She comes up firing for first base in time. Marshall is going back to the championship game for the 3rd year in a row, and an opportunity to defend its title from last season.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I threw the ball in the dirt, and Catalin Lucas had to pick it for the out. But an out's an out, and I remember we had practiced our celebration up to that point. So every day in the hotel, we were practicing, our celebration when we walk off that field in winter. and obviously, acting like we'd been there before, but a lot of us hadn't. So really embracing those little wins along the way, but then finally, making a run in the tournament and celebrating was really fun. I remember Coach Stanton jumped on somebody, and some people said they were going to do like a subtle fist bump, but then we're probably celebrating much more extreme. So that was a fun game for sure.
I definitely remember Cooper chucking her glove and it just disappearing. Who knows where that sucker went? But
exactly.
Let's kind of backtrack just a little bit there in your freshman year. Did you know at the time when you broke the Herd single season stolen bases record?
I'm assuming someone like you probably told me that it was coming up. But I know going into it, I wasn't really like expecting to do that, because you have to get on base to steal bases, and college pitching, I wasn't sure how that was going to go. So yeah, but it was a great season.
Well, talk about that aspect of your game, speed. I love speed. I love to run. I love watching you all run and just blazing around the bases. Did you like to run?
I did not like to run. No, I hate running. I don't mind short distance running, but I am not a runner for sure. I like short sprints or like jumping, but I am not a fan of running.
But still, when you were on base, did you love it when you got that signal from coach that you could take off?
I would say sometimes I was like nervous in situations, but then I learned, okay, even if this catcher is throwing a pitch out, I still have a pretty good chance of being safe. So I think once I learned that, it just became habit then. And I knew I was going regardless of the count, regardless of the situation or the catcher. And I kind of just had to trust that if you get a good jump here, you're going to be safe.
Well, if I remember correctly, I think you only got thrown out twice that year. So pretty good start to your career. But also around, because you did spend time in the infield, what kind of pressure is that on a defense when you know that there is speed at least on one of the bases, or even when you have especially runners in the corner, something like that?
Yeah, it's not fun as a middle infielder to face someone with that much speed. You have to be perfect, and sometimes even when you're perfect, you still don't have a chance. So I didn't like that necessarily as a shortstop, but as a player and a runner, it's like an unfair advantage almost. If I can just get it where I want the ball, the fielders don't really even have a fair chance sometimes. So good luck.
I think one of my favorite stolen bases was seeing how many times you and KG would steal off of a walk, where you would see that the infield's just not even paying attention. You get to first, and you two would just take off and take second. And I remember one time, even in SID, when we were on the road sitting there going, is that real? Can they really do that? I said, yes, that's a stolen base. So put it in. So, but now you get to the end of your freshman year, you've picked up your first bunch of awards, all freshman team, all tournament team, all region, second in the nation in stolen bases. So what were you thinking then going into your sophomore year? Because you already said, going into your freshman year, you kind of really didn't have expectations, but was that starting to change then once you saw the kind of success that you could have?
Yeah, I don't think it changed on my own, but the coaches definitely said, hey, we're proud of you. You've accomplished this and that, but you're not even close to where you could be or in the things that you could do. So I think that year going to my sophomore year is the first time like we sat down and created goals and, okay, how many stolen bases do you want next year? Okay, hitting 300 is good, but you should hit 500, and really setting those goals and figuring out a way to achieve them, I think finally started to happen before my sophomore year.
We'll talk about that 2015 season, because you really exploded, especially out of the gate, but smashing records. You did bat 500, you hit 506, 89 hits, 62 runs. You end up leading the country in stolen bases. What was that year like for you?
I mean, I think everything clicked. Like we said, freshman year, you're just figuring things out. And sophomore year, I was more refined because I had some more slapping coaching and just got used to the college level. And I kind of just went with it and then was able to use my athletic ability to make things happen. And it was a great year. And like you mentioned earlier, the speed game, once I learned that if I just make contact in the right spot and don't strike out or make sure I'm swinging at the right pitches, then I can get on base a lot if I just do those things. So part of it was just realizing that and fixing those little things to make that jump.
Well, and how about playing consistently too? Because throughout your career, you had some of the longest streaks of things that we have ever seen at this school, especially starting that year on a 27-game hitting streak. I mean, how did that feel to go through that?
I probably didn't even realize it was happening. It was more of, I do know my sophomore year especially, if I would think, okay, this ball can just not get past you. And I know that's something like the defense probably thinks is, okay, this ball can't get past me. But as a hitter and someone that just needed to put the ball in play and run, I remember thinking, okay, if I get 2 strikes on me, I'm just going to try to foul off as many pitches as I can until I get one fair. And I think that really decreased my strikeouts. And then I was just putting things in play and defenders couldn't handle it. So that's how my average got so high.
Well, and speaking of high averages, how was it being a part of an outfield with Kaylin Green and Emily Cooper, where all 3 of you bat over 400? I mean, at Marshall, we'd only ever had just one season of somebody batting over 400, and that was Rachel Folden. And now here in 1 year, we had 3 players all across the outfield doing it. How was that?
I mean, that's insane right there. And I think part of it is like you feed off each other. You feed off each other's energy. And when one of us does it and the next is like, okay, I can do that. And it really just starts rolling. And I think that's, part of my success is probably their success and how, we turned over the lineup more. We put more pressure on them with their speed too. And just made it really hard to defend and handle.
I'm sure that had to be fun for defenses when they're getting down to the 9 spot and you've got Emily Cooper who's batting over 400. Then it comes right back around to you and KG. I'm sure that was a lot of fun for them to have to deal with. But so how did it feel to hit your first career home run where you had to use your speed, with that one being inside the park, but then also later in the year at FIU hitting one out of the park?
I mean, yeah, I had only hit 1 home run in my entire life, right-handed, and I think maybe 1 left-handed in high school or something. So that was new to me to kind of start developing that power game. And even though sophomore year wasn't, a power year by me at all, I just started trying to incorporate it every once in a while, and paid off in the long run of my career. But it was cool to see that glimpse of, okay, like she's capable of hitting the long ball too.
Well, actually, that's a question I had for later, but since you've already talked about it, we'll go ahead and jump to that. Talk about adding that to your repertoire, though, at least for throughout your career, because now it wasn't just where the defense said, okay, let's just creep up on her and wait for her to put this down in the dirt, and then we'll try and throw her out. Now maybe we can't come up because she might just rear back and rip this thing, and we've got to be ready for that.
Yeah, and that was the purpose of it. Even though I was pretty confident and still bunting every single time and still being able to bat 500, it was, okay, but why not make them scoot back a little bit or challenge them even more? And also a big reason for me swinging more later in my career is that year that I batted 500, I didn't become an All-American that year. And that's like crazy to me looking back that any person in the country can bat 500 legitimately and not earn an All-American status. And that was something that really bothered me that I had this great accomplishment and didn't, see it on a national level. So talking and saying, okay, how do we, this is a goal of yours, how do we make you better? And that's like getting more power numbers. And so that's what I started working on was, at least hard slapping more and then swinging more. And it paid off after my ankle injury and having to swing more. So I was glad we started early trying to work on that.
I know that was something Coach Stanton and I talked a lot about, because it felt like that the All-American committee was just kind of really ignoring one crucial part of the game, and that is if somebody does have that ability to just drop a bunt and you can't throw them out at first, why can't you have somebody be an All-American who's batting over 400 or batting 500 and being able to get on base and steal those bases? It shouldn't all be about power numbers, but
I agree. With leading the country in batting average and stolen bases, well, that right there is like a double. It's basically like I led the nation in doubles, so why shouldn't I?
Exactly. But they like to see that slugging percentage. But you definitely did get that up there later in your career. But so, disappointment at the end of the year, though, in the conference tournament, but you scoop up even more awards. But what did it mean to you to be named Marshall Female Athlete of the Year?
I think that was, one of the coolest awards, just being recognized on campus by my peers and other sports teams, because, it's softball. And I think a lot of times you look at volleyball and basketball and some of those sports that maybe get a little more attention. But softball's full of athletes too. And I think that was pretty cool to just be recognized within Marshall, and it being my hometown school kind of thing was pretty special.
So now, okay, you've already talked a little bit about trying to get more of the power numbers, because obviously you had the goal of being an All-American and you got ignored even though you hit 500 and, led the country in stolen bases, so whatever. But what was your mentality then heading into your junior year? Because now you've also had conference tournament in 2014 where you made it to the championship but you lost. And then 2015 getting bounced out in the first round.
Yeah, I think that year, the year before, was frustrating because we knew how good we were slowly getting. And then junior year, the expectation, I think, was really high because we had a lot of returners. I was an upperclassman, but we still had KG in her class. So it was a great mix of athletes. Alicia's class had came in. So a lot of great players. Jordan's now an experienced pitcher on the mound. So I think there was a lot of expectation my junior year. And it was another year.
Well, how did the opportunity with Team USA come about?
As far as I know, I think my sophomore year when we played down in Florida with Coach Erickson being at USF down there, and me having a phenomenal weekend down there, I got the invite, I think, through that. And obviously being at the top of the stat board nationally, I think, helped me out. But yeah, after my sophomore year, that would have been my first USA tryout, and made that elite team. So that was great to finally, be recognized outside of Huntington.
Well, how were the tryouts? Because when you look through the list of the schools that these players came from, there really weren't a whole lot. I hate to call Marshall a small school, but obviously not being in the SEC or the Pac-12, some of those schools. But how was it being a player from a smaller school? They're mixing in with everybody and showing that, yes, you can do it too.
Yeah, personally, I think it says more about how you are as an athlete if you're able to get picked out of some of those smaller schools. I think it's a harder job, that's for sure. So I think it says more. And then going in, like the intimidation factor and just knowing that, they probably have their eyes looked on these players because of the programs that they come from. So how do you stand out? And I know it was definitely a challenge and something I worried about, but was glad I at least got the opportunity to show myself.
So was that a pretty good feeling, though, being named to, not this time at least, not to Team USA, but still to the national elite team?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Just to like I said, have some sort of recognition outside of Conference USA and say that, athletes from other conferences can, compete on a national level, and prove themselves was really cool.
Now, right before your junior season starts, your old teammate, Emily Cooper, passes away. Just talk a little bit about what you remember from that emotional time, if you can.
Yeah, I think, like I said, there was so many positive expectations going into that season, and that was a rough start. I remember we were all about to have our start of season banquet, and we get the news, and just devastating for her family, the team who had played with her for many years, and just really, really was hard emotionally going in because I believe we started season that next weekend, or at least very shortly after. So that was tough, and I remember just kind of going through the motions almost because it was like you wanted to play because we were still here, we're still able to play, so let's play for Cooper. But I remember it was kind of like a blur during that time.
Well, and those 2 games down there at Troy where it's kind of really the end of that emotional week because the previous Saturday Cooper had passed away. Then the next Saturday we're all at the funeral and then driving right down through the night down to Troy, Alabama. But I talk about having to go out there on the field that day and playing those 2 games and then, of course, having such a great outcome at the end of both of them to where it seemed like everybody could just go nuts and let everything out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the joy of softball and sports in general is you just kind of can escape some of those outside things and play for a greater purpose or kind of, distract yourself in a positive way and still see the good in it because we all knew Cooper would be out there hollering and jumping around and we weren't going to not play for her sake alone because of that. So it was good to get those wins and kind of have a little victory after a long couple weeks.
Cooper definitely knew how to get the team fired up during her time. Even if she was just somebody who might be coming off the bench, she still knew how to get everybody fired up. But
for sure.
So now getting into your junior year, the power is starting to come more, but obviously you haven't lost your speed. How did it feel to steal home against number 15 Arizona?
Next pitch, belt high on the outer edge of the plate for a strike. Zerkle off and running for home. She is safe. Morgan Zerkle steals home.
That was a moment I remember pretty well, and I just remember Coach Stanton say, "Hey, do you think you can take it here?" And I was like, "Yeah." And next pitch I did. The catcher was going to her knees, and that's all I needed to see was to just, okay, I can do this kind of thing, and went for it. So that was pretty cool. That was a good moment.
I like the confidence there. That's pretty good. Do you think you can do it? Yeah, I got it. So that's pretty good, especially against one of the top teams. But, moving ahead, unfortunately you do lose some time there, injuring your ankle there in game 3 against UTEP, and you missed the next 22 games. What was that like for you during that time where you knew you could not be out there with your teammates and pretty much all you could do was just sit and watch?
That was definitely one of the hardest times for sure. One, being someone so just obsessed with the game and so much expectation that year that I did feel like I was letting my team down by not being out there. And that was definitely a tough time, those 22 games or whatever it was that I missed. And those 22 games that you can't get back. And I know I broke a lot of records and did a lot of the things, but then I look back and be like, well, what if I had 22 more games? And we already only get so many short 4 years in our career. So it's definitely sad thinking about missing that time and then just not being there for my teammates. Stunk.
Did it feel pretty good to be able to get back on the field then at Florida Atlantic?
Yes, I'm pretty sure that first at bat back, I was just swinging at everything mindlessly. But I do remember, I think my second at bat, I got a double or something. Not even sure how I made it to second base, but because I still was a little limpy. But it was great to be back. I didn't even care what it looked like as long as I was back out there.
Well, for being limpy, you still looked pretty quick there, making it to second. I remember sitting up there going, she's not going to try for 3, is she? But, you stopped at second there on that one. But so on to the conference tournament. And again, unfortunately, not coming out the way you all wanted to. But talk about getting that walk-off bunt single against UTSA. You've got Jordan Cauliflower standing there at third, and you drop it down, and this sucker couldn't have gone maybe 2 feet in front of home plate.
Getting to play with some of the best players in the country and in the world this summer, but what can she do here? Lays down a bunt, just barely stays fair. The throw to first, not in time. Crossing the plate is Jordan Cauliflower. A walk-off bunt single for Morgan Zerkle. And that is the end of your ball game. Morgan Zerkle mobbed by her teammates after they first jump and lift Jordan Cauliflower into the air.
Yeah, so many, as a coach now, that I try to tell that to some of my athletes, like, you have to be able to bunt. Like, if you want to be in the lineup, especially as a lefty, you need that tool because it's just so easy. It's a free tool to have as long as you can get a bunt down. And during that game, we weren't hitting well. I don't know what that pitcher had, but we weren't doing well that game. And with a runner on third, I didn't care that there was 2 outs. I knew that, okay, trust what you've always gone to when your batting average drops or when you just need a ball in play. And it worked. They didn't even think to flip home and get our runner. They were silly and tried to get me on a perfect bunt. And, it won us the game. So that was a pretty cool. And I do like that story to tell some of my lefties that, hey, I won a conference tournament game on a walk-off bunt. So keep that tool handy.
Exactly. They couldn't throw you out, and it's like they just completely forgot that Collie was standing at third, and she had speed as well. So as soon as I threw it, she bolted. Okay, moving on then. Talk about your experience playing with the USA National Elite Team that summer. How was that?
It was definitely intimidating to start with. I think not really knowing anyone, being that kind of underdog that hadn't maybe faced as elite pitching or just hadn't played with, these certain big names that I was up against. So definitely a little scary at first, but also I knew like, okay, what do you have to lose kind of thing. You're just as good an athlete as them. So kind of learn, how did they get here and kind of just learning those things and playing with them and just trusting my ability. It was a cool experience and one that I kind of had to take day by day, like, okay, you can hang with these people.
Well, how about that big blast, though, against Mexico where the ball ends up one-hopping over the slow pitch fence over there? That was a heck of a crank you had.
Yeah, at that point in time, that was probably my farthest hit for sure. And I'm pretty sure that was the World Cup, and I think I didn't get a ton of opportunities being that new player, younger from Marshall. So I kind of just went into every at bat like I had been, just being aggressive and swinging. And I'm pretty sure I batted over 500 in that World Cup too, despite not really having a ton of starting positions every game. So when they put me in a hit, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to swing.
Well, you took advantage of those opportunities when it came up. Now, being obviously from around here, you've grown up knowing Marshall. What was it like to see, though, especially at the World Cup and some of those other places that you went to that summer, that you weren't the only representative of Marshall from there? You had Alicia Durazio with Puerto Rico, Erica Bennett, class of 2012, was with Team Mexico, and then a future teammate of yours, Eloise Tribolet, playing with France. That had to feel pretty good to see that Marshall was kind of making its name known a little bit more on the international level as well.
Oh, yeah, that's one of the coolest things. And, like, seeing a teammate there and being like, hey, like, and not being the only one from your school was cool. And I think it just said a lot about Marshall and our program and the kind of athletes we are able to get there and are still able to get there.
Talk about running for and winning Miss Marshall.
I honestly don't remember how I started. I think someone jokingly said like, "Hey, you should run for Miss Marshall," kind of thing, and somehow someone convinced me to do it. And it was fun though. I remember, Gail helping me make signs and someone else helping me make cookies. And other than that, I remember going to like do a announcement speech in my softball pants one day while everyone else was dressed up in dresses doing their Miss Marshall introduction. But that was super fun to see the support of the athletic department, and then, come out victorious as an athlete was pretty cool.
Well, and getting to ride around in the parade must be pretty nice as well.
Yeah, for sure.
I've only ever just driven in a parade. That's about it. But so now, okay, just before your senior season starts back up, you get another chance to try out with Team USA. Were things different for you in your second trip out there?
Yes, 100%. I knew some of the people, so it wasn't as intimidating being a second tryout. Also, just being older, more mature, more confident in my game, I think was easier. The biggest thing was having, ankle surgery in November and then having the tryout that first week in January. And I remember just not getting a lot of physical reps during that time because I was just rehabbing and trying to make sure I was stable again. So I do know going to that tryout, I was a lot more relaxed because I was like, what do I have to lose here? I just had ankle surgery. I'm just going to go for it kind of thing. And it ended up being my best tryout of the 3 that I've had. And yeah, it was incredible. Definitely performance-wise, one of the best weeks of my life. And it was probably just because I was so relaxed. And yeah, that's –
So how did it feel then to be named to the big one, Team USA?
It was honestly going to the tryout, I thought I had no shot because there was only one team. There were so many people there. These people are basically – they're stuck on the team. They've been on the team 3 years. They're going to be on the team again. So I kind of didn't really think I had a shot until I started just performing so well at that tryout that it's like, hey, you have to take me kind of thing, or this is going to look really bad because I did so well during that week. But again, being from Marshall and just someone who's not really deep into the USA pool, you never know kind of thing. So I was, excited and thrilled when that list came out and I was named on that team. It was definitely a moment I'll never forget, just feeling that, wow, all this hard work has paid off and, I made it kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. From Milton, West Virginia, all the way up to Team USA. I mean, that's pretty good. So now, how are you feeling entering your senior season? You came in with a big class, but all that's left is just you and Jordan Dixon. Rebecca Myslinski was still there, but she's now a part of the staff. But then you end up getting Shaylin Braxton added back. So kind of how are you feeling going into your senior year then?
Honestly, it was, definitely different than I would have pictured as a freshman early on, how I saw my career happen, how I saw the people that I played with. But the senior year was kind of like, this is the finish line kind of thing. We have to do it. We're not going to lose. And I think that showed that season that we were experienced to some degree. We had all the tools we needed, and we just kind of needed to get it done. Stop fooling around and get the job done. And of course, it was a great year.
How was it adding Chloe Parsame to your senior class?
Chloe was awesome. She 100% helped our energy level and just positivity and seeing someone just go out there and love being on the field and was awesome.
Well, and I remember she used to message coach the team every once in a while and say, I'm coming out, I'm going to play for you all. And then here she was senior year. She finally got to do it after finishing her great swimming career. But, well, talk a little bit about going through that senior season. Start off the year, you play so well against Florida State. Then you get a 17-game winning streak. The team is just absolutely shattering records, and you end up getting ranked. And how was that going through that year?
I mean, that was I want to say that was our plan and our expectation because we knew we were capable, but you just never know like what's going to happen. So it was awesome to see that recognition on a higher level from Marshall and just seeing what we're capable of and competing with literally anyone out there was really cool.
Now, you already knew that you were going to be still playing in the summer because you had obviously wearing the Team USA jersey, but how did it feel to get drafted by the NPF?
That was, again, an unexpected victory that I didn't really know was coming. Something that once I became aware of, I wanted to do, but still just not knowing, okay, there's a lot of good seniors out there. And even though I'm this, and this, like, are they going to take a martial athlete who, who knows? So that was pretty cool to, again, see my name called and get another opportunity to continue playing.
What do you remember from your very last plate appearance at home that year?
Well, at home, I remember that I was going up and it was very obvious it was going to be my last at bat at home. And Coach Stanton calls timeout and I was like, why are you calling timeout? Like, you're disrupting my rhythm here. I know what this pitcher's throwing. I have a plan. It's not my last at bat. I'm not going to screw it up kind of thing. And I remember walking towards her and just wanting to be like, it's okay. I got it. I know. Like, she had been throwing me inside and I hadn't been swinging at it. I'm like, I know, I'll swing at it. Okay. I got it. And I remember kind of like just pushing her away and saying, I got this. So it was a kind of a cool full circle moment from freshman year when she called timeout and I was like a nervous wreck. So that was cool. And it was a home run. So I was right. I did have it. So that was very cool.
What was it like to play at the Dot right there in front of your hometown crowd?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have asked for anything better to have my family there every game, a lot of my extended family, and then just people in the community, your friends, my high school coaches, just anyone come and support me, was really, really awesome to have that support and then, grow support from people saying, oh, this is our hometown girl, let's get behind her kind of thing. And I think it just adds to the the atmosphere that Marshall is already about when you have those people representing from right there in town too.
Well, and how did it feel too when you come out to a game and you would see that basically the stands behind the backstop are full, and then at least in your earlier days when it was the 4-foot wooden fence out there in the outfield, people leaning across the fence all the way out there, and then when the new fence came, people setting up basically tailgating out in the parking lot and people also bringing out chairs and just kind of packing it around everywhere. I mean, that had to feel pretty good to, again, know that you're walking out and playing in front of such a very supportive crowd.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you want in college and just any athlete wants is they want support and they want fans. And I know it's tough right now with COVID because it looks a lot different, but that's what you want is that atmosphere. And it was cool to be able to have that at Marshall and not just with my family, but the whole community and a lot of people coming out and supporting was really nice.
Now, again, unfortunately, a little heartbreak in the conference tournament with the results not coming the way that everybody was wanting. But how were you feeling after that? Were you confident that the at-large bid was coming?
I wouldn't say I was confident, but something was like, I wasn't worried. I just, I felt like things were going to fall into place. And I thought for sure we deserved it. I know people who probably knew more about the process than I did at the time were way more nervous. But, I was like, guys, we've won a lot of games. Like, we've had really good games against some really tough opponents. Like, I think we've earned it kind of thing. So I wouldn't say I was as worried as much, but it was definitely a close one, and I'm glad we slid in.
Well, how did it feel then to be able to see Marshall's name pop up there during the selection show?
I mean, awesome. Just to play one more week even is huge in college sports and something that I saw that year before I was a freshman, and so it was kind of, again, full circle, being able to have that opportunity to compete myself in that same environment was something, I wanted, I'd seen, and so glad we got a chance.
We'll talk about regionals and getting to end your Marshall career in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I mean, no one wants to end their college career. It's a very bittersweet moment, but still cool to be at that nice stadium with, again, a great green crowd for the most part, and just, being on a stage where it's like, hey, at least Marshall's here doing great things. We've shown now multiple times we can play in the NCAA tournament and win a game and compete. So pretty good to go out on that note.
Well, and again, this team seems to know how to put on a show when it's in regionals, whether it's in 2013 with the extra inning games, and then, again in 2017 and getting the walk-off against DePaul. It just seems like this team knows how to put on a show. But again, your final at bat for the green and white, you got to display both aspects of your game with power and speed by ripping that triple. Were you kind of maybe feeling the same way walking up to the plate that time as you were your final at bat at Dot?
Full count. Walker comes inside. Zerkle rips one hard into right field. That's going to go all the way back to the fence. Zerkle rounds first. She's headed for second. She's going to round second. She's headed for third. Is she in time? Yes! Morgan Zerkle with her 6th triple of the season. She now breaks the Marshall single season record for triples, and in a big-time moment, the hometown product for the Thundering Herd comes up big. 14th triple of her career.
I wouldn't say I was as confident in that moment because there was a very good pitcher on the mound, but I'd seen her a lot, and I did, I knew what my opportunities were that she was going to throw, and I'm pretty sure I lunged and got the triple to right field. And I don't know if it was a changeup or I was just out in front and what, but I do remember, again, kind of going back to that other philosophy of this is my last at bat. I'm going to swing no matter where the pitch is. I'm going to put barrel to the ball and make something happen. This is my last at bat.
Well, you definitely ripped it. And then the speed blazing around and sliding right in before the tag. So now I remember both you and Dixon afterwards, obviously the emotions coming out, knowing that this is over. But what was it like to play with Dixon and going through your Marshall journeys together, and that the two of you became just the second and third All-Americans in program history?
Jordan and I are so different, but so alike as far as just wanting to win and having that very focused mindset of when it's game time, step on the field kind of thing. And it was really cool to see both of our growth from freshman year to senior year and through all of the obstacles we faced and people leaving and Cooper dying and just everything that we kind of went through. It was cool to see, we got to where we wanted kind of thing. We both became All-Americans. So it was pretty cool to have her alongside me and see both of us grow through the 4 years.
Try to sum up, if you can, your Marshall career with so many wins, records, awards, like you mentioned, the heartaches and the great times. Just try to sum that up if you can a little bit.
I'm not sure there's really any words to sum up all of that. People say college is the best 4 years of your life, and, it was. And I, would do anything to go back and play again. And people say, okay, well, what would you change? And it's well, I wouldn't change anything because all of those moments, got me to where I am now and made me the type of player I am, the type of person I am, and the friend that I am, and the teammate. So, it was the best 4 years, and I would not change anything about my experience and how that time was, because I know it was for the best, and it made me who I am now.
Now, you were also active off the field, 2-time Spirit of Service Award from Conference USA, and several academic honors as well. Was that important to you to be able to have something else during your time as, you're not just an athlete. You have everything else going for you as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was super important to me is to, okay, I am an athlete and I have this platform, so let me use it and do what I can to help because I'm capable. And especially being that it was my community around Marshall and just, okay, it's not just, yes, I'm going to do it because it's my school, but it's my community and my family and my area, my state that I want to help make a difference in. And the little kids in my area that I want to inspire. So I think that really, spurred my desire to kind of do some of those outward things.
Now talk about your summer then with Team USA that year.
Yeah, again, we're coming off such a high from senior season and just all of that. And going into that summer, it was tough and long. Obviously, an amazing, incredible experience, opportunity, going to Japan twice, the Dominican Republic, traveling. I was also balancing playing pro and USA, so we would fly back and forth from Houston, Texas to USA, wherever we were training, to Japan, to back to Texas. And it was a long summer of travel and just trying to find my place in the pro world. It's very different than college and definitely a balancing act. And I was, a little mentally strained, but, one of the best summers all the same because it kind of helped, show what I was made of and can you continue playing and compete with this crowd.
How was your experience too with the NPF? Along with the strain of all the travel and everything going back and forth.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say it was love at first sight, but it was just remembering, okay, a lot of people want to be here and play. So you have this opportunity and yeah, you might not be getting all the games that you want right now, but just keep playing. Because again, I knew I was capable and could compete with them. So it was just kind of keeping that in mind and staying patient and, working hard and through it all. And it was still fun. Like, how many awesome athletes did I get to, watch and learn from and compete with? And I couldn't ask for any more experience than one playing with the best of the best.
How about your experience with Athletes Unlimited? How was that?
Athletes Unlimited was something that I wanted to do since hearing of it from my friend Gwen, and I wasn't sure because, like, coaching, I knew that was my priority and I kind of committed to that and something I wanted to do, but I was intrigued by what is this Athletes Unlimited league coming about. And when COVID and school got pushed back and I was able to have the opportunity to go and play, I was just so thankful to be playing. We hadn't seen a softball field since March, so I was just happy to play. And then I got there and kind of was like, okay, this is legit. And we were treated great, and there was so many great athletes, again, to learn from and work with. And then, being able to compete was fun. It's something I hadn't done in a while, and, it was a cool experience because it wasn't, coaches weren't making the lineup. They weren't picking who was necessarily out there. It was the players, and the players, did everything. The players kind of proved themselves in their performance. So it was a different but very, very cool experience.
Now, coaching, is that something you always wanted to get into, or did that kind of develop while you were at Marshall in school?
I don't think I really had at Marshall. I think it developed because I gave lessons since probably my freshman year. I started working with little kids in the area and just teaching in that aspect. And I did like teaching when I was younger, maybe not softball, but just like the idea of teaching others. But I had different careers in mind until probably after I graduated and was just kind of like, what do I want to do now? And I was giving lessons and then found an opportunity to go to grad school and continue being in the softball world with Coach Stanton. So that's kind of when I was like, you know what? I love this like lesson aspect. I want to try, the college realm myself and kind of see what that's about. And yeah, definitely felt like that was my calling from then on was, okay, softball is something that I don't ever want to give up. So this is how I'm not going to give it up. Once that time comes, I can't play anymore. I'll still be on the field this way. So that's the route I went.
How was it going from player for Coach Stanton to now on staff with Coach Stanton?
It was definitely cool to see the different dynamic and things you don't really notice as a player. You know, you see her on the field and how she coaches, but you don't see behind the scenes or what goes into the decision making and all of that. So great experience to, I feel like to be on both sides of it and one, be able to relate to the athletes because I've been there just very recently, but then also to kind of have the coaching perspective of, okay, this is why, and this is how it's going to help you, and just trust me, this is all for the good kind of thing. So it was pretty cool.
Now, what are some of your best memories from Marshall, either on or off the field?
I would say just living in the dorm with 8 people. I lived in a suite with there was 8 of us, and just like the quality time you get with your teammates outside of the field is, one of the greatest things, and the friendships you make. And like I said, I was, used to having teammates, but not ones that I saw every second of the day. But that's also when we created some of the best memories and the most fun times was, in the dorm room or, on the weekends, whenever that was, just being together and honestly toughing it out, waking up at 5 a.m. Everyone get up so we can go to weights. And just going through that together was probably my best memories right there.
Gotta love those early wake-up calls, right? When you just really don't want to roll out of bed, but you better do it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you look back at everything, and obviously I know that you're not done yet, but try to describe, if you can, your emotions, thoughts, feelings on going from young Herd fan to starring and rewriting your hometown team's record book to then the national team, the NPF, Athletes Unlimited, to now you have young ladies, especially from this area, from your home area, looking up to you and seeing, hey, I don't have to be from California or Florida or Texas to be able to make it. Look at what Morgan Zerkle did.
Yeah, I think that's super special. And, it was, again, something I never imagined that would happen. And it just kind of kept working out. And I trusted the process and just took each day, okay, this year, what do I need to do? And this year, what do I need to do? And now what am I doing to continue, growing the sport in our area, and just now at my school too. And figuring that out is something that I didn't have any idea could happen, but I'm so thankful for everything, and hopefully continue to just, inspire people and continue on my career as well.
Finally, is there anything else that you'd like to share with the viewers, whether it be any advice or any other part of your story that you want to talk about?
Nothing specifically. I think we talked about a lot, but really just, set goals and go for them, and then make them even higher, and just keep going for what you want, and, figure it out. Like, there's going to be tough times or roadblocks, surgeries, injuries, complications, pandemics, but, it's going to be okay. And just getting through all those times, it's probably for something better in the long run. So keeping your eye on the future and all the good things that can happen.
Morgan, thank you so much for joining me on the MUSB Dugout and sharing your story. I'm so glad that I got to see you go from that wide-eyed, quiet kid all the way up to, playing on the professional level in Team USA and still making an impact with the future stars of the game. I really appreciate it. This was great.
Yeah, thank you, Scott.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Morgan Zerkle, a definite future Marshall Hall of Famer, still going strong and teaching the youths how to do it right. And another MUSB in-state success story who just blazed her way through the record book of her hometown team, where you can find her name listed over 200 times, helping to push her hometown team to national recognition. Again, Zerkle, thank you.
Thank you.